Yeah. Hello, friends, and good day. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good morrow, good noon, and good later on tonight. From all of us here at Talking with Famous People Incorporated, a multimedia, multinational corporation that tries to provide banal content to bored people everywhere around the world. This is my co-host, lover, and friend, Rachel. She and I are intimate with one another in an intimacy fashion. But I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time explaining to you how you too can attain intimacy in your life, because that's not the topic of today's live stream. Instead, we're talking about something much, much, much more important. Popularity. Rachel, did you ever have a summer between high school years in which you said, now this upcoming year, I'm going to be popular?
I don't think I said it out loud, but yeah, definitely.
That's a common trope in movies.
Yeah, like I made friends with an ENFP and an ESFJ, and they helped me socialize.
Okay, Mac Daddy, no, I will talk cognitive functions if need be, that's fine, but you know, it's only going to take a second to tell you the 3 quick steps to instant and permanent ultimate popularity. They're really quite easy. Even a newborn baby could master them in seconds. So I'm really providing some highly valuable material here. Like, look at you. Terribly, hugely, just torturously unpopular. But after today's live stream, that's all going to change.
Yeah. Well, the results have been proven.
Which type is the stereotypical mean cheerleader bitch? ESFP, probably? Or do you think more like
No.
ENFJ?
No.
ESTJ?
ESTJ's in there, but I think you're right, ESFP. ESFP, yeah. ESTJ definitely is a mean cheerleader, but she's probably like not the main cheerleader.
She's probably not wasting her time doing cheerleading.
The best example of a mean girl is Regina from Mean Girls, the movie. She's an ESTJ, like, popular girl who she, like, commands over a group, and she's a good example of an ESTJ popular person.
Well, and you know, I think we're all in agreement here that it goes a lot further than what Dulles says there. Dulles says there's a lot of population, so popularity is important. True. But I think we can make some bolder statements than that. There is nothing more important than popularity. There's nothing you shouldn't be able or willing to sacrifice to become more popular.
Yeah.
The only thing that matters is how popular you are. And right now, Broccoli Todd, Mac Daddy, Dulles, none of you are popular enough yet. I don't mean popular in any sort of demolishable way, like millions of subs or something. I mean popular like you fully qualify as one of the popular kids. None of you do. No. I didn't until yesterday until I learned these 3 easy, quick tricks. These tips took Rachel and I from the nerd table to the popular kids table in one day.
One day.
One. It wasn't even a full day. It was literally seconds. So, I mean, I hope I'm not overselling it, but these 3 important tips to popularity are so important, so powerful, and so effective that you may not live through hearing them. That is one of the risks. Learning about how to get popular could cause death, instant death.
But we know what we signed up for.
We knew, yeah. They don't call it, Hell Week for nothing. Our trainer had us out doing wind sprints in 115 degree heat, denying us water. But look how much stronger we came out on the other side because of it. Oh, are you ready to hear about how popular, huh? Okay. I will tell you. Step one to huge, infinite, permanent popularity. Okay? Step one. Always be cool. You gotta play everything cool. Like, hey, I'm cool. Like that. Okay? That's step one. Always be cool. Okay? And step two, remember, to have a friend, be a friend. Okay? What does that mean? It means even though it's stupid and you don't want to, you should get your friend a birthday card from the supermarket. That's basically, you can break that whole second step down into at least 4 birthday cards given out a year to people that you would like to maintain relationships with. That's instant, guaranteed, massive popularity.
That is.
You remember, like, at one time I was at the mall and I went up to somebody and I said, "Here, I got you a birthday card," and everybody thronged around me saying, "Woo!" That's the power of the birthday card.
That is the power of a birthday card.
Okay, now number 3, Diamond, is always put out. Always put out. No matter who it is, no matter what they want you to do, always put out. And, well, I mean, the strategy works for me. It landed me in Anal Wreckage Anonymous, sure, but it worked. I had a long, long line of variety of people waiting to abuse my nativity. So I was very popular. Eventually, I actually had too much popularity, and then I decided to tone it back a little bit, and now I've actually gone a little bit too far, and I'm growing. I'm right on the border between unpopular and hated. But just because I'm not executing these 3 quick steps to instant, eternal, permanent, immortal, ultimate popularity, doesn't mean you shouldn't. Okay? Doesn't mean they don't work. They just don't work on me.
Or me.
But that's because when I was overseas one time, I got bit by one of those kind of mosquitoes that carries the unpopularity virus. And it's kind of like malaria. It keeps popping up again every once in a while. Oh, shit. Why is everybody leaving? Basically, what the unpopularity virus does is it makes you stink and shout offensive things at people nearby you. Which tends to make you pretty unpopular.
Yeah.
It's kind of easier to coach someone on how to be unpopular. There's a lot of good ways to be unpopular. For example, tell everybody they're wrong. That's a good one. People don't like being told that they're wrong. They don't like being corrected or lectured at or scolded and stuff. If you just do that most of the time, it's a pretty strong anti-inflammatory mechanism for popularity. Produces your popularity from growing or inflaming at all. It's like diatomaceous earth and fleas, basically.
Yeah, basically. That's a good analogy right there. I mean, you said the popularity is so...
I'll give the 3 rules again. They may not be the same, but just pretend they are,
good,
okay?
Thank you.
Number 1 rule. Always put out. Okay?
That's the number 1 rule now?
Number 1 rule, yeah. Always put out.
Okay.
Number 2 rule. Whenever anybody says anything to you, say, "Oh my God! That's so great!" And number 3, master the art of the coquette, being coquettish. You have to act a little bit shy. Oh, yeah. If you do those 3 things in coordination with each other, you are going to skyrocket in terms of name recognition, popularity, approval rating, general public love, and the respect of your peers and elders. What card do you think that is there that's been folded up into a paper airplane? This was back when I was doing debate at the choir place. I can tell you what card that is. It begins with, there is zero scientific basis for race. That's, what do they call it? Jones A or Jones B? It's one of my, race doesn't exist debate cards.
Nice.
Yeah. Pretty nice. Pretty sad that the kids folded it up into a paper airplane, though. Hey, that's an important debate card. You must have folded it up because you're all Asian. Okay, so we are hanging out here this evening for a little while. Like you can see, we've got 8 people currently. So if each of you talks 3 times as much as you normally do, then it'll be like we've got 24 people here.
Yeah, you know.
Well, that's pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
If you guys could each just up your talking quantity by 10 times, it would be like we had 80 people here.
Wow.
But look, good luck with that, Rachel. We got Sean Ryan Barron, introvert. Dulles, introvert. Hambone, introvert. Mac Daddy, dismissive ESTP. She doesn't even bother. I'm not even going to bother wasting my extroversion on you, Eric. I'm gone. I'm not even here anymore. I've already implemented your 3 steps to instant popularity and I'm enjoying it. That's probably what she's doing right now. She's out there enjoying her incredible new popularity.
Yeah.
Yes, and if you do hit the like button on this live stream, you will get a popularity boost. I will tell you right up front, it's a short-term temporary boost. It only lasts about 7 minutes. But during those 7 minutes, if you have the opportunity to be around people, they're at least 12% more likely to find you tolerable than they previously would have been.
Yeah. Get out there. Go have some fun.
Dulles, I will be publishing a 12-part series of 700-page novels. Well, not so much. They're novels / diaries / journals / workbooks. Okay. And by the time you read all those books, you'll be very, very popular. Oh, you know what, Dulles? That's an urban myth. It's an urban myth. The thing is, if you want to watch an ESTP video, what their video would say is 3 quick and easy steps to making other people think you're popular. They have a different skill, you see. So that's why you think they're popular, but it's so shallow. It's so hollow for them. They every night, if you go into an ESTP's room, right when she or he is about to go to bed, you'll find them quietly weeping by their bedside lamp, looking at a copy of 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriela Garcia Marquez. They don't let a lot of us into their private moments like that, but deep down, they cry. And why? Because they're not popular enough, of course. What other reason would there be to cry? There's no other reason. Every morning I get up and I flagellate myself with horsewhips as a way of incentivizing my dedication and drive to success. So far it hasn't worked. But I have gotten a number of infections on my back, and how does a TE user solve a problem versus a TI user? Well, what I would say, first of all, is that TI is not really a problem-solving function. TE is a problem-solving function. So, TI is a status-resolving function. TI tells you what's correct and what's not correct. TE tells you how to get things done. It's like when I was so mad at the pharmacy the other day, I said, I I'm so mad at my pharmacy because they keep trying to tell me how, what, when, where about my drugs. I don't give a fuck about your how, what, when, where. The reason I'm so mad is because you can't answer the question why. I don't think TI users are necessarily more open to new ideas. Um, I think it might be accurate to say that TI users are generally have an easier time learning to be self-critical. I think everybody has to learn to be self-critical. I don't think
Yeah.
that is given to you just because you're TI. I think the TI people may have a different self-criticism management problem than FI people. So, for example, one of the qualities of FI Polar is you just don't think you're very. You just fundamentally don't think you're worth very much. You can't imagine anybody sticking around you if you required more than you could give. And if you're in one of those situations for a while, it makes you very uncomfortable because as a FI Polar person, you don't have any faith in the other person's feelings for you at all. Because after all, why? It's weird. It's like you don't apply your own the way. I never think this way about other people, but I assume they think this way about me. It's kind of a six slot TE thing. If I'm not providing enough utility, solving enough problems, being useful enough, I'm not worth anything to anybody. That's the fundamental underlying premise of FI Polar with TE6. Don't worry, dolls. ESTPs aren't really like that. I was just teasing them. Yes, exactly. It depends on it. Well, it depends on how many openness cards you have left, and also what your saving score against newness is, and then what you roll. So, like, if you've got save against newness 7, and if you roll anything higher than a 7, you're fine. Why
I
is
think
my
I'm
hair all
starting to
sticky?
understand.
What's going on here? Why is my hair so sticky? Look right here. Did I pour some soda in it or something?
Oh,
Isn't that weird? How did it get like that?
it's definitely more sticky than the rest of your hair, right? Or, yeah, it is.
Dolls, have you ever done technical writing as a job? Technically, no. That's what you should say to respond to that. Until right now. And answering these questions, are ENTP sociopaths? No. Sociopaths don't think they themselves worthless. They think other people worthless. It's like they don't respect other people's autonomy and equality and value. ENTPs, and I suspect ESTPs as well, although ENTPs are more likely to sort of understand it and articulate it probably, we don't get, we're the least prone to entitled, right? Like, we might be entitled in terms of garnering entitlements, but we're not going to act entitled because it's like that requires some FI to act entitled. You got to believe you're worth a lot regardless. So I'm going to get what I want, kind of thing. FI Polar doesn't really do that.
Yeah, I'd agree. Duel says, Bubble Puppy, you're close. I was a technology journalist for years, and to this day do a lot of writing and editing of reports, but not tech writing. Are you in the field? Interesting.
You should write an article called "The Internet Explained."
That's good.
It's a good title.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can explain it. So the way the internet works, it's like a bunch of different computers, like all over the place. They like shoot out freaking words and stuff into the wires. You should write it like that.
Yeah.
Sell it to Idiots Weekly. Technology journalist. Isn't this technology stuff ready to stop already? It seems like it's been advancing for years now. I like technology fine. Some of my favorite technology includes YouTube and cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't just a series of tubes? Oh. Tube cloggage.
I like the technology behind the bong. It's pretty cool. Like, it's definitely the most clean way of smoking, I think.
Yeah, it's good tech. That bong right there is strictly good tech.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can really use the internet though as a good example for how to think about something. So it's like, okay, if somebody comes and just discovers cognitive functions and says, Eric, I want to think meaningfully about this without having to think wrong a bunch of years first, like you did, and like brute force like an idiot, So just cut to the chase here. Give me some cut ahead stuff. I'd say, well, understand, like, pretend the internet didn't exist. What would you need to do? What capacities would you need to enable to make it exist? You need to enable the ability for people to send information, to receive information. You'd need to be able to have some information be received unbidden and some ability to search. You'd need some kind of hypertext markup language to put pictures and things, and so it's like if you really think about the internet and how it works, what's happened here is it didn't work. It didn't happen like this, but we could pretend it did. Somebody back in the day said, wouldn't it be great if our metaphysical ecosystem were as fluid and responsive as our physical ecosystem, so that when we were in the library and I was reading one book and you were reading another book, you could share with me a funny picture in your book without even leaving your library table. You get comments from multiple people from all around the world without going to different libraries. You could see all the books in each of the libraries without having to travel there. There's lots of things you could imagine how it would be if you were to simulate something as complicated as a fluid, real-time, reactive, metaphysical ecosystem. Well, if you imagine way back when, before the internet was invented, it would be impossible to anticipate all of the various nodes you'd need to complete in order to get the simulation as robust as it is now, right? But the same thing is true of cognitive functions. That fundamentally it's about information flow and about relationship to information. So it's not like the information just goes in or out. It's received, it's sought, it's put, or it's an active, responsive engagement with a dynamic system. And those things those things have analogs in the internet. So it's like you could talk about your interface functions being basically handshakes, ways that different machines can communicate with each other, even though they're not using exactly the same programming languages. So, in other words, how can I communicate with this refrigerator? It doesn't even speak. It doesn't even think. How am I going to engage with this refrigerator? Right now, it must be mad because it's not working anymore. This is like the imaginary FE person who's just so TE blind that they try to talk the refrigerator into working again. Okay, but you can see how that's exactly what the interface functions are. They're ways of interacting with dynamic systems that aren't people, or that are social systems made of people. So it's like if you're a TE, you are engaging with dynamic systems that can't communicate back with you, that are objects and or static in some sense, that have no agency of their own and no capacity to self-correct. So as a consequence, you've got to figure out their logic and come to them on their terms, the refrigerators. The FE logic is similarly distant from the self, or similarly linked to the self, but it's just a different kind of system. I can never possibly know what all these people actually feel, but I can tell how they engage with each other hierarchically. And in some sense, it's like that about cognitive functions too. We're best served to understand cognitive functions as trade-offs. So being an SE DOM, what's the most definitive quality of being an SE DOM? It's being 5th slot SI and 4th slot NI and 8th slot NE. Those are the most definitive qualities about being an SE DOM, because those actually tell us something meaningful. So SE over NE means end discussion and do it over continue discussion and come up with more ideas. SE over SI means put your body's limits and capacities on autopilot and correctly assume that you'll more or less not make any catastrophic errors with it. Now, what does 4th slot NI mean? What does SE mean in terms of 4th slot NI? Well, it means they're executives. So, I mean, the deepest difference between ESTPs and ENTPs is that ESTPs don't care about the truth for itself. It's instrumental. They're executives. Okay, I'm trying to run a business here. So what is this truth here for? What am I going to use it in? How am I going to convert this to outcomes or money or something? That's how ESTP's relationship with truth is. And ENTP's relationship with truth is very different. It's 5th slot. It's no, everything supervenes on the truth ultimately. It's like my NE is best when it's most bounded by NI identity and singularity. My TI appeals to truth as a virtue and a value in its own instrumentality of establishing correctness, which is different than truth. But correctness, of course, if it invalidates on truth grounds, then it won't withstand scrutiny on correctness grounds either. So everything begins with truth for an ENTP, whereas that's not the case for an ESTP. I'm not trying to bust their chops or anything. My daughter's an ESTP, remember, and I think it's fair to say I'm quite fond of her. I'm at least medium fond of her. Maybe more than medium.
I'm quite fond of your daughter as well.
So, as darkness settles in on the west here, after our western sunshine drops behind the horizons, I shall turn on this light. INXPs make good writers, yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, they just need to learn to edit and be concise, just like ENTPs do. If you got any of the tool function, concision, you tend to roll your eyes at the need for concision if you're an INTP or an INFP. I tend to have experiences like that wasn't concise enough, or that didn't. I said too much, so the most important things I had to say got lost. And my anti-ignoring does weird things. Like last night, I went fishing. I was determined I'm gonna not half-ass this. I'm gonna actually try to catch a fish. I'm gonna try to go fish correctly. Seems like every time I go fishing, well, it was fun, but I didn't really have all the things I needed in my tackle box, or something, you know. Well, this time I still didn't have all the things I needed in my tackle box. I went anyway. I planned to go to a pier, which makes sense to fish off of, and I had planned to maybe stop at like some kind of party supply store or something for some glow sticks, because you can attach those to your bobber, and then you can see where your line is in the water, you know. But I didn't do that, and then I didn't end up going to the pier because I saw a sign that said, you know, Miami State Beach, turn here. So I got off. I walked down to the beach. But it's been a long time at the car before I went to the beach, getting my pole all set up perfectly as I could, very carefully. I'm gonna do this right today. I'm gonna really do a good job fishing. I go down to the beach and I realize it's a beach, Eric. It's just you're casting into the breakers, and I have this huge like marlin pole that I got at a yard sale. It's like a massive fishing pole, so I was able to cast pretty far out there. But even so, that is not a good place to fish. That's not doing it smart or well. It's a stupid place to fish. It's a swimming beach, for God's sakes. And granted, I didn't have to worry about the swimmers because it was the middle of the night, but the fish aren't, there's not going to be fish there to catch, really. Certainly not in the breakers. So, you know, I ended up walking away from that thing last night going, Eric, how is it that you stood by the car, spending all the time getting your pole perfectly set up because you're going to do it right this time, completely oblivious to the fact you had already fucked it up beyond repair by going to a random beach? That's ignoring. None of this came to me really none of this all came clear until after I left the place, and I was thinking to drive home, like, wow, that's some real ignoring, because I decided to go to the pier. I understood why I decided to go to the pier, but I had forgotten about that salient point. When I saw the sign for a beach, I was just thinking, well, there's ocean. That's what I'm looking for, the ocean. That's where the fish are. You gotta go to a pier because the fish don't come right next to the sand really that much. So a pier, the whole point of a pier is to get you out into the deeper water without having to go on a boat. You know what I'm saying? So what's the difference between second slot FITI versus first slot FITI? I mean, the difference is the second slot people have alright, so like if you got TI in the second slot like me, or ESTP, you've got TI as an instrumental value, which means you don't actually care that much about fairness. So Rachel's always worried that I'm going to perceive something about our relationship as unfair to me, and so it's like if I go like, oh, I'm starving, she'll jump to, oh, maybe I should have made something, which is not what I'm trying to say at all, because we're a couple of intuitives. I don't expect her to be a censor, and she doesn't expect me to be one. But the point is this, with TI second, it's instrumental value. It's not an absolute value. And with TI first, it's an absolute value. Now, for both INFP and INTP, NE is an absolute value. So, if you look at INTP, we have none of the same shared values. All of our values are opposite. Their TI, their SI, their TE, and their SE are all absolute values. And those are all instrumental values for me. INFP, on the other hand, we share half of the values. So we both have FI as absolute. We both have TI as instrumental. We both have FE as absolute. And we both have TE as instrumental. The other ones are opposite. So, but in that regard, if, casually INTPs and ENTPs get along better, but on some level, ultimately, INFPs will see more eye to eye with ENTPs about what's ultimately important. It doesn't mean that it's a good relationship, INFP and ENTP, because it's a supervisorial one. But the thing is, like, INTPs, here's an example of how come INTPs and ENTPs should never be in a relationship together. When I typed Spacey's girlfriend, his new girlfriend, a couple months ago, he had been with her for months and months and months. And and she said, well, Spacey said I'm probably an INFP. Now, you really have to countervalue NI if you're a typologist who's with a woman for months and months, maybe a year or something, and has never resolved the issue of her type. Because it doesn't matter to him. It doesn't matter to INTPs what type you are. After all, that's just artificially confining NI. My NE tool function will beat up NI when it can. I will demonstrate NI to the world when I have to. But on my own terms, fuck it. I don't want anything to do with NI if I'm an INTP. I don't like the single truth because it prevents me from using my tool function. Now, don't you bring your NI here. When you bring your NI here to me, INTP version of Eric, you bring your NI here for me to dismantle it in front of you and show you what a worthless piece of crap it is. If I can't do that, then I'll give you my own NI instead that'll be better than yours, even though I hate it. That's that's INTPs. You can't be in a relationship with an ENTP if you're an INTP and expect it to last, a romantic relationship, because NI absolute value is too important to ENTPs, and NI critical parent is too important, in another way, to INTPs, and the same with TE. So my antipathy towards TE conflicts too starkly with an INTP's absolute valuing of it. And same vice versa for NI. And vice versa for NI. Well, I've only got 3 lighters in my hand. So, doing pretty good. Only got 3 lighters in my hand today.
What color is your NI? Because that might be very important, says Winston's mom.
It's like sky blue. Yeah, that's what NI is. It's like sky blue.
Sky blue, he says.
No clouds.
No clouds.
All the juiciest things in life are NI. All my best SI is NI. So, what parts of what memories do I? What's in my ego spank bank? It's mostly hilarious jokes I've told over the years.
That's great.
I really was quite smitten with my joke at the Cheesecake Factory about sugar being water soluble.
Oh my gosh, it was so fun.
That was a great NI moment for me. I was thrilled with it. Now, here's another thing, though. Here's another reality about NI. NI gets along really well with FE. Not so well, not as well with TI. So, most of my NI stuff is going to be linking to FE things. For example, Rachel and I went through a phase where we were going and getting these SWIPs from the head shop in St. Gabriel. And the thing is, it's a packet of whippets, right? But they're off-brand whippets. And on the box, they've got these ridiculous pornographic style pictures of these naked ladies, like with whipped cream, going, like big boob naked lady. You can't see their actual nipples, but you get the gist of it, right?
Yeah, it's very suggestive.
So, but I wanted to make a joke about it, but I waited, multiple visits before the situation was just right for me to make the joke and get make sure I had their, because it doesn't matter how brilliant the joke is, if nobody's paying attention, we're gonna fall flat, right? So you gotta have the exact right moment. I did wait for the exact right moment, and the response I got there were two guys in there, but the guy who was actually helping us he seemed clearly delighted by it. And my joke was, it's a pretty straightforward joke. There aren't actually any naked ladies in this box.
It was so great. And the guy thought it was so funny that he told the other guy about it.
Yeah.
Comedic timing is probably something that ENTPs do best.
Valerie Elwood, only losers don't prioritize popularity over everything. Okay? Just remember that. If you're not popular, you're shit. I'm missing a session. Oh, are you that girl? Are you that girl that I typed it not that long ago? Did you guys break up? Why did you break up? What happened? Yes, Chris M., you are. You are the shit. When you walk into a room, everybody stops talking and prostrates themselves on the floor. You would like to be famous, not popular? I don't have 3 quick, easy steps to fame. Just to popularity. Just remember what they are. If you always have ass, gas, or grass, you'll be popular. Just like the bumper sticker says. Nobody rides for free. Somebody who always has all 3 things, ass, gas, and grass, will always be able to ride for free. It won't be free, but... Oh, you're a different girl. You're not Spacey's ex. Okay. FI equals popularity for the self. What's popularity for the self? No. Listen. Benson, let me make this very clear. I would love to be famous because I want a lot of attention. I like it. I like the ego shit. It's not... It is true that I'm not running... My presidential aspirations are not linked to that. They're linked to an actual sense of civic duty. It's not a job I ever thought I wanted. It was a job that I thought, and I still think I'm the only person who can do it properly right now, until after I've done it and demonstrated how to do it properly. Then we can have something to reference, right? But the thing is, when it comes to most of the stuff I do, the FE is definitely for my own juiciness, not for the common good. Definitely not. That was one of the first challenges I had on YouTube. Was I was like, huh. So it seems obvious that there's at some point comes a question to every YouTuber: why are you doing this? Why are you YouTubing? And the answer that everybody seems to be giving is, I want to help people. And I was like, okay, well, that's definitely not my reason. What is my reason? And I had to be honest with myself. And I realized one day fairly early on, oh, I'm an attention whore. I love attention. That's why I'm doing it. So when people ask me, why are you doing this YouTubing thing? Because I want your attention. I like attention.
Nothing wrong with that.
What do I want people to like about me? I don't necessarily know if I want to be liked. I mean, being popular and being liked are different things, you know? I would like to be popular, I guess, but I'll say this. I would probably find it most gratifying to be popular in comedy on an experiential level. Nothing gratifies me more than making someone have an honest, reflexive, big laugh. That's like the most gratifying feedback I can get. But I'd probably be most long-term satisfied if I could be popular for music, because it's the thing I take most seriously. Like I work harder on music than anything else I do. And yet I'm not as good at it as things that I could. If I worked that hard on writing something, I'd be way better at writing it than I would be at making music. But see, that's the thing. It's like people are drawn to stuff that isn't exactly in their perfect wheelhouse. You know, it seems like the world's full of actors who want to be rock stars who want to be actors. Politicians who want to be athletes who want to be politicians. When people attain significance in some area, if it's because they've really hammered the path of their strengths, they'll probably feel somewhat dissatisfied by it. I think, it's like music is definitely among my strengths, but writing music, it's almost amazing that I can do it because of the NI ignoring. But I had to learn. When I first started writing music, it was nothing intuitively resonant about it at all. It was all just trying to be different. So Tristan Ortiz has this strategy. He gets all dressed up, looks super, super clean, got his cologne and his fancy clothes and everything. And he goes out, guys, please, I don't like all this attention. I like that. So my music defines me? No. It doesn't define me at all, but, when you're somebody who bounces between things and enthusiasms all the time, you learn fairly young to stop thinking anything defines you. So what's been defining me lately more than anything else, like the last couple of weeks, probably like rocks. Rocks and geodes and stuff.
Yeah.
But I know that's not my new passion forever or whatever, but I'll always want to do that sometimes. And I can only add so many things like that. Like sometimes I want to go fishing, sometimes I want to go get geodes, sometimes I want to go blah, 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 blah. What do I think about Mr. Bob Dylan? I have a low opinion of him. I think he's a bad artist. And that his being a bad artist and possibly also an NI tool user or an NI DOM has generated in him this deep ontological rift where he spent every bit of his life since the 60s with a chip on his shoulder. Have you ever tried macrame? Because why not? Is SE Data? No, I see as an intentional manner, a way of paying attention. And that's one of the other. I'm glad you asked that question, because that's another way we can point out that socionics needs to just go right in the trash can, because socionics claims that attentional manners are information metabolizers. But we know that different functions relate the individual to symbolism or information or whatever in totally different ways. So, yeah, I would say that TI and FI metabolize information. You could say that NI and SI metabolize it, but that wouldn't be right. NI coalesces multiplicities into singularities, and SI archives experience. Those are not information metabolizing. That's not information metabolizing, Certainly not the action functions that metabolize information. And the thing is, like, somebody wrote me an email today saying some stuff about, like, well, surely SI is somewhat communication based because you remember words, don't you? Well, yeah, you do remember words, but it's like, to the extent that you're remembering ideas, that's your NI. It's not really remembering them. It's to the extent that instead of remembering things, archiving, keeping track of what's happened before, you now have an understanding or a new knowledge or understanding of the world derived from getting a concept, then that's NI. It's not SI anymore. But the thing is, words are part of our experience too. So my mom, every time it was cold, she'd go out of the house, she'd say the same thing every time. It was her words that she said every time. She didn't wait to see what somebody else said, or she didn't just enter into the coldness in a state of receiving like Rachel would, sort of waiting for the world for something to happen for her to engage with. Or, it's like in that regard, NI certainly has a lot to do with data, a lot more to do with data than does SI. SI, when you retain your experience or simply act as a repeating pattern, like my mom did, that's knowing yourself by how you always act and what you always say and who you always are and stuff, right? It's not really a communication thing. Now, it's true that SI people can learn to master communication-based things, but that's because they're not devoid of NI. It's just not their dominant function. Well, I'm sure, I'm happy to hear that, Upton Plates. Upton Plates 48 points out another reason why we can dismiss SI. I mean, why we can dismiss socionics. In socionics, SI has nothing to do with memory. Now, look, SI is not the same kind of memory as, like, working memory. So, we need to be clear about that. If I ask you to remember, how many numbers can you remember? And repeat back to me. If I do 8 digits, can you do that? 4, 2, 3, 4, 7, 9, 2, 5. Can you repeat that back to me? That's not SI. That had nothing to do with SI. Okay? When we want to understand SI and NI really deeply and actually understand it, begin at the protoform of it. The protoform of SI is object permanence. The protoform of NI is shape constancy. And that explains so much if you think about it, right? Because what does object permanence? Object permanence is a benchmark in SI development that at which point the young baby realizes that just because they can't see a thing anymore doesn't mean the thing has gone away. That in fact, they can trust their own experience better than they can the world. I remember I left my bunny over there. And So when I go back hours later, I'm going to assume it's still there, even though I've had no data from the world to suggest it's still there. And everywhere I've looked other than there, it's not been. So I have no information actually about the rabbit whatsoever. I have no reason to believe somebody's not moved it. And yet, object permanence says trust your experience over your intuition about the world or observations about the world. Ni, in contrast, is shape constancy. When you're very little, you think this and this are different things because they look so different. Because you haven't mastered the art of identity yet. Ni is the art of identity. It says, I can intuit that this is a lighter no matter what angle I look at it at, even if it's an angle I've never looked at it before. I don't need my experience to know things. I just need to understand the identity of things outside of me. So this is the fundamental distinction between SI and NI. SI says, I can ignore the world and trust my own experience. NI says, I can ignore my own experience and trust the world.
Yeah.
You know what birds you have that sound like that? Like what? I am in tune with my body, like when I need to eat and attend to personal hygiene and stuff, but I don't care about past experience. I hardly remember things that happened until it's recent. Why? What's that say about your SI? I mean, I have no idea what you could possibly mean by I am in tune with my body, like when you need to eat and attend to personal hygiene and stuff. The problem with statements like that is in tune compared to who? Are you in tune with your body compared to an SI Dom? Are you in tune with your body compared to me? Are you in tune with your body compared to, you know, are you in tune enough with your body for your own purposes? In other words, like, I'm not experiencing harms from a lack of SI attention, so therefore my SI must be good. It's like, this is the problem with self-reporting, you know? It's like, even if you're being completely honest and I'm being completely honest, we probably don't mean the same thing. Yeah. And with self-reporting, you always have the jumping fish phenomenon. If you're a fish and you really like to jump out of the water, and I ask you a question about your comfort in a given environment, how comfortable are you in the air? If you're a jumping fish, you're going to compare yourself against the other fish and say, oh, I'm very comfortable in the air. And then if I'm a bad typologist, I'm going to say, oh, well, you're a bird then.
That was some good TI.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
This is some good SE. Force.
Yes.
I forced that fly to die with my SE.
Yes, you did.
In that case, SE was force.
Yes.
Because the action I was taking was killing something. I mean, in terms of the music, the thing is, those people... Okay, so you never need to use the bathroom suddenly. In other words, you never wait till you're about to pop. And you never wait till you're starving before you eat. You're on top of that shit. But you say you don't care very much about your past experiences or remember them particularly. Well, then let's look at the self-reporting on that one instead of the other one. So let's assume you're right about your self-reporting about your bodily stuff. That in fact, you're substantially better than me or Rachel, and probably better than the mean. Now you say, though, additionally, that you don't value the past very much or keep track of shit like that from the past or whatever. One way to think about SI is SI likes to give examples. SI is about experiencing, right? So if I'm explaining something to an NI Dom, I don't need to do a whole lot of, in other words, in this concrete example, that would concretely look like this. SI people need that to understand things, including SI fourth. So I need to link all of my ideas to to some kind of example. In fact, it really goes the other way around. I notice some example and then extrapolate out and say, is this consistent with this larger pattern, or is it just an anomalous thing? You feel the correlation between obsessive compulsive thinking and EHPs is quite clear? Well, I mean, first of all, let me just say this, Eli. Even if you're absolutely right, completely 100% right there, you haven't told us anything. Because it could be clearly weak or clearly strong. Good point, Maxie Camp. Thank you for reminding me. I really do appreciate it when people remind me to smoke weed.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad we got that envelope of cash from Jeffrey.
Yeah.
This bottle of weed is empty almost. Is that bottle of weed almost empty too?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah.
What's that? I don't think I'm. There's a. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what obsessive compulsive thinking is. I guess. But
Maybe a one. I feel like as a one.
I do know. I've seen Rachel get a little bit obsessive compulsive thinking. Like when she's bothered when this was before we got the medication straightened out. She'd be bothered about something that wasn't my fault. I couldn't do anything about and was not a real problem, but it was a real reality. So she'd be describing a reality accurately. But she wouldn't accept my answers of,
Yeah.
well, okay, so
ignoring
but yes, that's true, but it's not a problem. That's the thing she wouldn't accept, when she was not medicated properly, when she didn't have the right medication. But yeah, it's in NIDOM, one of the curses of them is they can't help but know what's true, even if it's an unpleasant truth they don't want to know. So SI people, the higher up in the stack it gets, the more nanny you can be. It's like, I do not hear, I do not see, I do not listen. I am not changing anything. I am SI and I don't care. I like 4-5 knowledge. ESTPs and I get along well, in part because we both have relatively conscious or voluntary fourth and fifth, and we both use our knowledge functions in approximately the same ratios. He'll use an ESTP. She or he will use NI and SI about as in about the same kinds of roles and densities as an EHP.
I like being with an ENTP because it keeps me grounded.
Well, it's definitely the case that with FI Polar comes along with a lot of logic and a desire. If you have TI tool, you're saying, I would like all of our communications to be public, and I would like them all to be subject to scrutiny, so that means we don't have to worry about your subjective vectors or mine or whatever else. The thing is this. It is not the case that I am disregarding of feelings. It's the case that I'm very stupid about them all the time. Like when I was mad at the pharmacy, I went down and I yelled at the pharmacist. And but I wasn't being very fair when I was yelling at him. He was getting the brunt of my anger. And so when for things that had been going on for a long time, not involving him at all, right? By the time I was done with that, then I felt really bad. And then when the pharmacy called me back, and it was the helper guy, and he was all nice to me and everything, I felt like super bad. And then I apologized to the guy and told him to apologize to the pharmacist for me, please. And, it's like, that's FI polar. It's not that you don't care about feelings, it's that you don't realize until after you've not cared about feelings that you care about feelings a lot. It's an absolute value. FI is an absolute value for polar. Polar is an absolute value. Well, it is true that human bodies have more constitution in general when they're younger. Introverted sensing, whether or not an individual pays attention to that in a voluntary way or engages that possible thing to know voluntarily, depends on where it is in the stack.
I like talking about Enneagram because I think being a 7 was why I was self-reporting as an ENFP.
Well, you weren't self-reporting as an ENFP. You were self-reporting as honestly as you could, and bad tests were calling you an ENFP. Well, rationality. So, obviously, in the most basic definition, rationality is reason-based justification, really. People like to pretend that their justifications are the actual causes of their actions. But that's generally not the case. People do what they do and then justify it later. Except unless you're like an ENTP or something, in which case, because my configural strategy is what it is, I'm always most concerned with checking that my language is clean. Like I don't like the email I got the other day from this guy who pointed out that I had been somewhat sloppy in my talking. I had said that extroverted functions deal with extroverted things, the things outside of you. Well, that's not true. I don't know why I said it. It's like extroverted functions, extrovert intuition. It takes place on the internal metaphysical field or external metaphysical field. If I'm knowing something about somebody else's extroverted intuition, then I'm using my introverted intuition. And that's the other thing that people get so confused about. It's like, if you don't distinguish between who's what it is, and you just say like, well, when you encounter NE data out there, well, there is no NE data. NE is the thing that made that thing, right? Now that you're looking at it, it's just data and how you attended to it. If you're going to attend to it with extroverted intuition, instead of dismantling it or consuming it, you'll build off of it, and you'll riff some other ideas that are new themselves. So the idea that you could talk about extroverted intuition data is it's a category error. It's not getting the way the cognitive functions work. So, the other thing to remember about SI is whenever you're talking about SI, you're talking about being somewhere on a balance beam between always archiving and never archiving, always coming up with new shit, right? So I've got endless shit tons of work that I could use, finish, make videos out of, whatever. But I never, whenever it's time to express myself about something, I don't say, let's see, what work have I already partially finished on this so that I can complete that and make this process easier. I just start from scratch every time. Are you comfy, Rachel?
I am. Thank you, Up Them Plates 48.
I got a splinter in my thumb last night.
Last night?
Well, this morning. Early morning. When I came back from fishing, I not only put away the fishing stuff, but I decided to put away the shovels and things. So I had that one shovel that, like, I dug with it one time and then the wooden thing cracked. The wooden handle cracked, and I got a splinter from that.
Oh. I thought you got it this morning. Well, you did.
Okay. Are you hungry?
I could eat.
I could eat too. I'm getting pretty hungry, I think. I had a couple of yogurts, but it wasn't enough.
I've been picking on the carne asada, but I feel like we could get food.
I'm quite confident the carne asada had nothing to do with my digestive problems this morning, but just because it happened to coincide with eating those things not that long ahead of time, I don't really want to eat any more of the carne asada.
Okay, good to know. Rachel, how would you feel if you and Eric switched roles and you had to answer the majority of the questions and Eric had to primarily listen? I would be fine with that. Good night, Maxi Kemp.
Good night, Maxi Kemp. The thing about that is a good question, Eli. It's a really good question because it's reflective of how it's like, okay, equality is generally a poor measure of quality. So, in a quality relationship, a quality relationship is not marked by both people having equal amount of turn to speak or something like that. And I'm not saying you're criticizing the relationship, don't get me wrong, but I'm just pointing out that instead it's being with a person who allows you to most comfortably be in your own wheelhouse. So Rachel's wheelhouse is first and foremost to observe, to sit, observe, receive information, and to act and or deliberate as the need to do so arises, but to default back to observing, listening. It's not like there aren't plenty of times when Rachel and I aren't sitting silently. Like, there's a lot of times we're in the car and we'll just drive around quietly and silently.
Yeah.
Rachel's not a big talker. She's a great conversationalist.
Thanks.
But she's not first and foremost a talker.
No.
And that comes with ignoring NE. Just like I went to the fucking beach last night. You know? I mean, instead of the pier or the rocks, my second choice, for no reason other than When the whim hit me, when I saw the sign, oh, there's the ocean, I just completely forgot about all those other salient points, right? Karma's pump. Karma's pimp, are you also Karma's pump?
Tiger by the tail. It did because I wanted to. You know, if I'm not feeling like being on camera, I'll usually sit on the couch over there, and sometimes I will like engage with the chat through my phone instead.
Engaging via text is the introvert's way.
Yeah.
Better just engage via text.
Yeah.
Requires less immediacy. Missing on lots of donos? Am I on Twitch? I tried streaming on Twitch a little bit, but the thing is, I don't really do the kind of streaming that Twitch generally favors, and the thing that people don't get is that everything has a maintenance cost. Digital objects have a maintenance cost, or digital platforms. So, anytime I try to integrate some new thing, there's a lot more to it than you think. Even if it is, oh no, it's really simple. You can just stream both places at the same time. Okay, well, sort of, right? But then you got to maintain just chat. I wondered at times if you were experiencing any pressure internally that made it uncomfortable. I seem fairly relaxed and comfortable. I think Rachel feels a lot of pressure, not from me or from anybody in particular, but I think she had been conditioned to being scrutinized. So
Yeah.
she generally tries to be as perfect as she can.
Yeah.
No. The Discord was salvaged, not hijacked. I did not. I crashed that plane into the ocean and said, "You take my name off of this plane and ferry me to shore." Some pirates came later and salvaged it. I don't give a fuck. Not mine anymore. It's my garbage. It's the garbage I left by the side of the road that somebody picked up. It is not hijacked. Eric, why are INTPs and ESFJs so likely to be Marxist socialists? I don't think INTPs are particularly likely to be Marxists or socialists. ESFJs? I think of ESFJs as being primarily apolitical. They really don't care. You know, they vote on soccer mom shit. Like, they'll vote for anything that makes everybody safer, but you know, they don't have ideologies, really. Antipolar is not prone to ideologies. ESFJ and ESTJ alike. They may act in ways that are suggestive of some totalizing thing behind it, but that's not what's going on. One interesting thing I want to talk about, actually, is so Taylor live streamed, I don't know, sometime back, a couple weeks ago or something. And during that stream, there was a discussion of his perception. You're not really a Marxist. It's like, people say that, they don't mean that. Like, for example, Matt, you don't claim that that I shouldn't be allowed to type people for money, right? I'm sure you don't claim that. You don't claim that you should get to seize 80% of every $100 I make for typing people. You don't claim that there should be some government agency between me and a person in another country adding tariffs and unnecessary difficulties and preventing us from doing business. You don't claim any of those things, I'm sure. So, no, you're not a Marxist. You're young, apparently. Only young people are attracted to those kind of team things. When they get older people, they get attracted to more, I guess you say, conventional teams. They're still team prone, but it's different kinds of teams they get attracted to. Ideologies are a very young kind of team that you should outgrow as quickly as possible. Yeah, I mean, the thing I remember about capitalism is not an ideology. It is not a system. It is not a meh. It's not a meh. It's not a meh. It's simply the absence of force such that people are not prevented from doing what they wish for each of the individual parties' own interests. You know, there's no such thing as capitalism, as like, communism is a thing. That's when authoritarian dictators or oligarchies make everybody miserable and justify it with ideological words. That's communism. And we can articulate exactly what it is because it always plays out the same. It plays out as a central group trying to centrally control a larger group to the detriment of everybody. Because, of course, it's actually something. What are they doing? They are getting in the way of people doing what they want to do with each other, or benefiting or profiting from their mutual commerce. So we can define communism. Capitalism isn't an ideology. It's the absence of an ideology. Well, the non-aggression principle is certainly representative of, I guess you'd say, it's the simplest way to coalesce down into one sentence the logically moral position. So the thing is, the logically moral position is that rights emerge from ownership, and individual rights often emerge from ownership of the body. But regardless, that rights emerge from ownership. Now, that doesn't mean you have to agree. You don't have to agree with the beginning assumption. So, look, the idea that... Okay. Remember this. There are two basic kinds of morality: negative and positive. Negative morality is about what you can't do without incurring the status immoral. Okay? Positive morality is what you must or should do in order to incur the status moral. Now, negative morality is actually objective, logical. It's TI morality. Okay? It's reciprocal burdens. Because I have an expectation that you will respect my rights and autonomy, I have an obligation to respect yours. Which is to say, I cannot interfere with you in a rights-violating way without forfeiting some of my own rights legally. So, I mean, that's what you call, the basic. That's the most basic way in which TI makes human beings more than animals. Is they acknowledge reciprocal burdens, and it's one of the reasons that the SFPs are only generously described as more than animals. So yeah, it's like that's the logical morality, but that doesn't mean that we should totalize it, and that's what people always mess up. Just because I say something's objective, rational, logical, makes sense, or whatever, doesn't mean it should be totalized into an ideology of some sort. So it's not the case that we should always respect the non-aggression principle. No, it's not. Because sometimes circumstances present that aren't so black and white in their actualities. With hypotheticals, we can often be very definitive about what the conclusion is. But with actualities, you can have multiple parties who are sort of at fault, right? You can have something that's. You can have Hitler, who's building up massive armies but hasn't attacked anybody yet, right? So, do we afford him the benefit of the doubt that this person who gives you every appearance of militarization, sword rattling, and a desire to invade you, should you do nothing in response? Well, that doesn't justify preemptive strike, Eric. Okay, well, so it's like it's also the case though that a simple border crossing doesn't justify the death penalty. So let's say you have a border crossing by a group of Russians into Ukraine who are dressed as civilians, right? Now you got yourself a complicated question. You can't totalize that shit anymore, can you? And that's why the most important thing, the one thing you can totalize, and even this you can't totalize, is don't totalize ideas into ideologies. Including this one. There may be an exception out there. So, it's to embrace an ideology is to abdicate your responsibility to be a moral agent. Being a moral agent means you can't delegate it to someone else. You can't say, Marx did the thinking for me, so now I know what's moral. No. Well, Marx did the thinking for me, so now I know what to advocate. No. Well, I like this picture, this painted utopia, so I'm in favor of those advocacies. No. You have to actually see if the advocacies link to create that utopia, and you have to establish that the higher probability of that happening, the magnitude of the impacts of the utopia are greater, and attentive to all possible disadvantages, including unintended ones. So, no, Okay, so we have a couple of areas around, Rachel. We need to go to the weed store.
Okay.
And we need to get a bite to eat, I think. Something cheap, maybe like Taco Bell or something,
Sure, I'd go for Taco Bell. It's been a while.
Lohith R. Hi, Lohith R.
Will I have to get out of the car at any point?
I mean, you don't have to go to the weed store with me if you don't want to.
I'm just asking because should I change?
No. Well, there's no reason why you can't get out of the car like that, is there?
Okay.
You look great.
Thanks.
No, that was his brother, 100 IQ. It's National Girlfriend Day? Is it really? I don't think so. I don't think there's such a day, is there?
I mean,
Do they have boyfriend day?
They have days for lesser things, so I wouldn't be surprised.
National Casual Acquaintance Day.
Could we find out, actually, if it really is?
The last capitalist to be hanged shall be the one who sold us the rope. Right. It's like, why don't communists just call themselves what they are? Like thieves or power-hungry despots or idiots or something. We're the idiot party. If you're really, really dumb, you might be convinced by our bullshit. That's the thing. Nobody's actually Marxist. Nobody's actually in favor of the drug war, for example. But this is what I mean by this. If I said to any regular American, okay, you go take this gun, shove it in that guy's face, push him to the ground, handcuff him, and explain to him that you're doing it because you don't like his mental state, or that he's high on drugs or something, you know? They'd be like, but he's just sitting there not doing anything. No, you get up on there, you fucking shove that gun in his face, you shove his ass down. Nobody would do it. Nobody would do it. So it's like people who think they're in favor of things are mostly not. You know, there aren't any real communists out there. The real communists are warlords who want to have unaccountable power, you know? No, Skygear, you already achieved it. You just have to wait for the next lesson. 3 quick steps to recognizing your incredible popularity.
Incredible.
No, you have achieved it. You just haven't achieved the ability to recognize what popularity looks like yet. That's in the next lesson. Erickson, certain functions have multiple aspects to it. They don't. They don't have multiple aspects to them. It's like, the thing is, if you're talking about aspects the way I used to talk about them, I was wrong when I was talking about aspects like that. That's why I have nixed those. I used to think that because, like, this is I used to make the mistake that everybody makes all the time too, which is, I think, okay, like, well, let's go to the classic story of the guy who came out of his car and slapped me, knocked my glasses off my face. You know, the classic SE versus NE, right? He's coming at me with his SE, I'm throwing NE at him. I used to think, oh, well, this is extroverted intuition in the physical aspect or something. Because here I am using words to deal with this physical situation. No. He's using SE, coming to smack me. I'm using NE, saying, what are you doing? One of them is much more appropriate to the context than the other. That's it. SI being remembering experiences. Okay, so SI is a prioritization of resources already held and attained, which includes your memories of your own experiences. Okay? SI additionally is a real-time knowledge of your biological physical state of being. So those things aren't different from each other. They're just different stages of experiential knowing. You know the experience, but you still know it tomorrow. Okay? So I will know tomorrow that this morning I had horrible stomach cramps and I had to poop like 4 times or something. I will know tomorrow that that happened. I will probably also know tomorrow that I have some question about whether that carne asada had anything to do with it, even though I probably shouldn't. My NI says it had nothing to do with it. It was because I hadn't pooped in a long time. It's like I was in my normal cycle of poop. This happens every time I go on the Adderall. I poop out all this old poop that's clogged up in me.
Me too.
So and if I let it clog too much, then there can be some stomach cramps and stuff, you know. But so that's what SI is. It's experience. Now the thing is, sometimes it remembers words. So it doesn't make it a communication function, though. Like, my mom, she wouldn't just say the same saying. She'd say it in the same lilting, the same sort of lilting approach every time. It was clearly not meant to communicate information. When I'm talking about like her little sayings that she'd say, it was just an experience to trigger in the appropriately associated moment. So if she were putting coins in the piggy bank, and I were in the room, or even if I weren't, probably, she'd say, well, every little bit counts. Just like that. Every time. Was she communicating to me? Not really. I got the message, what she was saying, that it's good to save money, or something like that. But that's not why she was saying it. She was saying it to herself, right? She was saying, here's another little happy point. Or something like that. So, no, SI is not a communicative function. If you are SI fourth, like me, then you tend to have almost as much NI kind of knowing as SI. So, I remember words, but not okay. So it's like sometimes somebody will be talking to me and they'll say blah 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 blah, and it'll just pop into my head and I'll realize, hold on, 2 months ago you said, and I quote, blah 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 blah. Every once in a while that'll happen, but most of the time I'm always having to paraphrase them. If I'm always having to paraphrase the person, then I'm remembering the gist or the NI identity of what they conveyed without remembering the actual words or SI experience of it. So, I gotta say, I think I'm expressing myself very well this evening. Like I was that live stream I cut from before. I might cut from this one as well. I might try to make another one of those kind of videos from part of this. You might get away with singing the Smell Like a Monkey song without Eric getting sued. Who sues people for singing the Smell Like a Monkey song? I don't know the Smell Like a Monkey song, I don't think. Is it Happy Birthday?
Yeah.
It seems to me that maybe that's one of the lyrics in Happy Birthday.
I think so. Because you look like a monkey and you smell like one too.
Well, at least my appearance and smell match. That's something, right? I want to play this song before we go. Even though this freaking splinter in my thumb is super... it's such a small thing and it's so annoying.
Yeah.
It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles. And today... It's too hot. Let's try it now. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles. And today we run out of time. Troubles past, troubles still to come. The day is nearly done. Will someone buy us some more time? Cloudy day in Los Angeles. Cloudy day in LA. I'm no sort of evangelist, but I've got something to say. Life can strangely be forgiving to those those who lie awake all night. Voices telling you to give in, try to sap your will to fight. But whether I'm supposed to stay here or just be soon forgotten noise has a lot to do with what I say here, but also with what I avoid. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles, and today we run out of time. Troubles past, troubles still to come. The day is nearly done. Can we buy us some more time? Cloudy day in Los Angeles, cloudy day in LA. I'm no sort of evangelist, but I've got something to say. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles, and today we run out of time. Out of time. Thanks, Border Lioness. Hi, Donna Lloyd.
Hi, Donna Lloyd.
We are still going. We're still going to the weed store. We just haven't left yet. That's true. What I just said for sure.
It is true.
All right. Well, thank you for indulging me in playing that. Listening to me play that song. If you stick around for it. I want to smoke a cigarette in before we go. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. I have got, I think you're going to agree, the poppiest, most bubblegum, normal, wonderful hit song anyone's ever heard. And I'm going to play it for you right now. If you want to talk about, like, this is my Call Me Maybe, okay? It's how guaranteed it is to be number one on the hit charts. Here we go. That's true, Sky Gear. I am mentally at the weed store. Physically, I'm here. The song is called Stabbing Everyone. Okay, just so you know what it's called. And I just want to assure you that I don't actually want to stab anyone, so just be perfectly comfortable about that. There's no stabbing going to happen, but this song is called Stabbing Everyone. And here we go. Hold on, I gotta fix the fucking audio settings. Boo failure, boo, a boo failure, boo failure. I know you are not very popular. Alright, now we're ready to rock and roll for reals. Yelling and kicking, stabbing everyone, killing and robbing, donating blood, running over everything that goes in the road. 'Cause they don't like it. I'm going to go to camp and take you to the place where I stab everybody that I see. These are my activities for my summer camp and week. Won't it be a lot of fun? Stabbing, 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 stabbing. Oh, wonderful, oh, wonderful. That's stabbing everyone. It's not really structured much like a song or anything. I think about making a YouTube short out of it though, because under a minute is like 59 seconds.
I like that idea.
Part of the problem with that Sky Gear has been that my my standards have gone up so that I have a lot of stuff that I've made that it never quite gets to being published. No, I don't know where those lyrics came from. I was just being like, I just freestyling, over it. I just thought it seemed like because the way the song sounds so dark, it would be like killing and murder or something like that,
It does, and like it alludes to those like 70s horror movies where people would be camping and there would be stabbing going on.
Well, you know what? Let's listen to it again because I tell you, it takes a little while to get what's happening at all. It's like at first it just sounds like a complete fucking mess. And it may be that's the reason it sounds like it because that's what it is. But still, I think search for meaning beneath it or search for quality in there. Look hard.
I hear a horror movie in it.
Thanks, Christopher Chapin. As your reward, I'm going to play you this song. Yelling and kicking, stabbing everyone, killing and robbing, donating blood, running over everything that goes in the road. 'Cause they don't like it. I'm going to go to camp and take you to the place where I stab everybody that I see. These are my activities for my summer camp and week. Won't it be a lot of fun? Stabbing, 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 stabbing. Boba Fett, I am working on it actually. I put some time into it today. It's well, one of the things that I've improved on, I guess, is I do a better job now of practicing exactly what I want out before I really feel satisfied with the recording of it. So like my traditional way of I just played it on the guitar a second ago. It's a very cloudy day in Los Angeles, and today I've run out of time. Troubles past, struggles still to come. Yeah, that one. That's the Cloudy Day song. I tried playing it at the beach last night. The thing with that song is, I'm not 100% settled on the arrangement of it. I think you should go verse, chorus, transition, bridge, verse, chorus, no transition, verse. I think. but Cloudy. Well, it was originally a freestyle. Cloudy Day in Los Angeles was originally a freestyle that I would play outside here, standing outside the house holding the guitar. Um, but the song that it is now is a fully written song. Whereas what you heard before, and if you heard that freestyle, was basically a certain chunk of two chunks of the song that it has become. In other words, the main verse part, which was a little different but basically the same, and then the chorus part that goes, "Cloudy day in Los Angeles, cloudy day in LA," and then I added "I ain't no sort of evangelist, but I've got something to say." So I added that part to it from the freestyle. I took out some shit from the freestyle. So I turned the good parts of the freestyle into a song. And I would like to try to do that more since I have so many good parts of freestyles that I never turned into songs. And they're useless as just, wow, those are two really good parts in a freestyle that is useless as a whole. Again, and I'm ignoring. I'm able to go, wow, I really love that this has two golden nuggets in it. Yeah, but they're welded in there, Eric. You're never going to get them out. You're never going to be able to spend them. You're never even going to look at them, really. But they're in there, and that makes this so wonderful. No, it doesn't. You know? I got you, motherfucker. I got you. I got you at the source, and now you're going to burn to death. Best milk songs? I don't think I have any songs about milk. I have a song about Florida natural grapefruit juice, of course. I got my hose. I got my bands. I got my strippers. And my hands. I remember all the lyrics in it. It always makes me laugh when it comes on, though.
It's funny.
It's like, why is this song about grapefruit juice all of a sudden? It really is Girlfriend's Day. Apparently. I knew. Well, apparently it really is Girlfriend's Day. Fortunately, I have a wife.
Aw, thanks, Faye.
You see how bold these boys are?
They're very bold.
Oh, fucking bold boys.
Yeah, they are.
These flies, I tell you. You'd think they'd learn. What is going on with evolution? Why won't these flies evolve to learn that I will kill them if they come near me?
That's true.
I'm waiting and waiting and waiting for them to evolve it's like, don't viruses evolve resistance to antibiotics and stuff? Why can't the flies evolve avoidance of me?
Me too.
And Rachel, but I mean, she doesn't kill nearly as many of them as I do, so it makes more sense for them to avoid me.
Yeah.
I kill quite a few.
Yeah, you're good at it.
It's too bad milk doesn't stain our teeth white.
That is too bad.
What a great sentence. Did you make that up? Did you just make that up right now? Or have you made it up? Did you make it up before and save it?
It's a good one.
Or did you get it from someplace? Yeah, I heard all about that stuff. Okay? That's being too kind to the flies. I want them to know that I am the face of death. GOAT is an acronym for greatest of all time. It's also an acronym for gigantic orange athlete's throat. But if you've got gigantic orange athlete's throat, you need to spray Tinactin into the back of your mouth right now. Okay, we're gonna go soon. I'm still waiting for Eli to tell me to answer my question. I want to know if he made that up. If he did, he gets like 100 points. That's really fucking clever.
Mm-hmm.
That's some power ENTPing.
Yeah.
Well, every once in a while I hear a real good joke. Sometimes, it depends. Sometimes the person made it up, sometimes it didn't. One instance sticks into my mind is somebody made the joke, I don't understand why everyone makes such a big deal about roofie sex. You get laid and a good night's sleep. And I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. And then I asked him, and he said, no, I got it from a movie. Whenever it depends. It depends how. Depends on the context as to whether or not I'll credit something if I'm quoting it. I guess I admire the art of joke writing.
I do too.
That's great, Eli. Absolutely great. That could totally. That's like a Stephen Wright joke. Stephen Wright made the joke, you can't have everything. Where would you put it? So, give yourself 100 ENTP points, or whatever you are, NTP points. Or just general cleverness points. I can imagine my friend Corey coming up with something like that too. He's got a lot of NI pop,
Mm-hmm.
So, Corey did come up with, when you go outside and it's cold outside, you say, "Brr." Now you say, "Oh, it's Goldilocks and the Three Birds." That's got a lot of NI pop, right?
Yeah, it does.
Alright, we better split before everything closes. Ow! I will spend my whole life always banging my elbow, banging it into everything, and window, door, and frame. A banged elbow is always hurting more and more. I just bang it right there, and then right there, and then I'll go and bang it some more, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
A banged elbow.
Banged elbow.
A banged elbow.
Banged elbow.
Okay, that's it for this live stream. We gotta go because we got stuff to do.
We do.
And look, just read that card there. That's there's zero scientific basis for race. There's greater genetic difference among races than between them. Jones B, I think, maybe Jones A, one of the two. Check it out. It's a good card. It's a good debate card. What? Race? That doesn't exist. You're not black. Liar. You don't have a race. Yeah, I bet you're poor too, huh? Liar. That's how you deal with race and class case. You think you're poor? I'm fucking poor. Do you know I bought my laptop? I didn't buy it at all. I got it at the dumpster at the homeless shelter where I get my meals. At least I used to, until they said, sorry, you're too black to eat here. I had to stop going. So don't try to run your race and class case on me, mister. All right, goodbye, everybody. I love you with my heart. Rachel also loves you. Together we will now have to part, but later we'll see you anew. And that's how to be popular. You have to bring a whole thing full circle. That's how to be popular, okay? So those were the 3 steps. I don't know if you caught them, but those were the 3 steps. Quick and easy. Instant. Permanent. massive, awe-inspiring popularity. Good night, everybody.